All right, Paddy Macrae, welcome to DNMs with Dean. I got to ask you, man, how are you going? How's life going at the moment, and how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Tired. Good.
You've been busy.
Been so busy. Yeah, just been flat bickies touring.
Mm.
But had the last 2 months off. Went to Thailand for a bit there. Nice little refresher.
Little catch up on you, because from the outside, I guess everyone would see this lifestyle of like you literally rock star mentality. You're out in front of the crowd. You live in this crazy life. But how much of a toll does that kind of take on you at times when you're constantly touring, constantly moving, and like it is good. I don't want to take away from the fact that it's a fun lifestyle, but how draining is that to be like constantly go go go?
Yeah, it's like it's draining, man. Like it's kind of the stuff that people don't see. Like take for example, like our social media. Um, people sort of see the highlight reel. The hour of power when you're on stage, all the funny bits in between. But it's the flights and the venue setup and the travel and the organisation and everything like that. It really takes it out of you, and it's a good exhaustion. Like I love what we do, but it is tiring, and it's a funny exhaustion because it's a kind of exhaustion that you kind of have to put to the back of your mind to give to the crowd when because that's what it is. It's like it's all this work up for that hour,
Yeah.
and that 1 hour you really have to like lean in and give everything you've got. And it's funny after you finish a show, you just like you're dead, you're drained.
It's like a mental dump, hey?
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's the weird thing. It's like it's not a physical labor; it's a mental labor, but it's exhausting.
But I don't think people understand how much brain power would go into that build up to then that hour where you're there, and then the dump again to then go, all right, now reset.
Yeah.
And start again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's yeah, as I said, like people don't see that side of it, and like they don't have to see that side of it. But yeah, it's a funny one. You get used to it though. The hardest part's actually coming off tour, because you sort of spend like a block period of time, couple months, like touring up here, like real big dopamine hits. You're playing shows every weekend, and and then you come back home, and then it's just like nothing,
Just normal life again.
normal life, and you're like, oh, what do I do with all this free time and all this pent up energy? So it's kind of that's exhausting in itself. Is finding I suppose healthy mental routines to try and balance out the highs and lows. That's exhausting in itself.
Because you'd go from such a high front of stage, everyone looking at you, to then coming back home where it's just like just day to day.
Yeah. It's super bizarre.
How was that going through that as you kind of obviously got more fame and got more well known and that crowd got bigger and bigger? How was that then coming back to normal life or like quiet life, and how'd you deal with that?
Probably like any other normal person would. I don't know, like like Zane and I, we keep it pretty low key when we come back from touring. We're not like the biggest party animals ever. Like, so we just kind of come home, try and reset, relax as much as we can. It is hard to switch off. Like coming back home, it's hard to switch off that music mentality, especially too when we're not touring. The other side of our job is to try and write music and lean into a creative space. And it's hard to lean into a creative space when you're kind of in this like performing space. But I don't know. Yeah, it is a funny one. It's a funny thing coming from that, lights on you and there's people in front of you, and then coming back to reality. But I don't know, like it's a job in like it's our passion, it's our life, but it is also a job as well. So I suppose when the lights come off and you're off stage and we're back home, it's you just sort of go about your day to day as if you normally.
Because I just know when I was younger and I started racing and competing overseas, when I came back and went back to school after like being on like the World Cup circuit, this was a dream of mine. I'm racing with my idols. And I came back and went to school and I was like, I've been sitting in math class and I was literally just in like the Swiss Alps living my dream.
Yeah.
And now I'm in math class trying to work out algebra. And I was just like, I almost felt like I had PTSD because I like my emotions. I didn't know how to regulate and deal with them. But it's like that from going from, and obviously there's levels to this, but obviously you, like you say, you just go back to normal life. But I guess that initial reaction of coming back to reality and going, oh, fuck, like this is just normal life again.
Yeah. It's bizarre. You've almost got, it almost feels like you're leaving a little bit of your mental space back in that zone, and you're kind of trying to like grasp it to try and bring it back to what you're doing now, you know, which again, like comes back to that whole like leaning into a creative space. Cause it's like, for me, it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. A creative space is like a really calm, sort of at peace kind of zone where I want to be like locked away in a room or like, you know, somewhere like secluded and writing music and being with myself and being creative with myself or with Zane, as opposed to like being on tour where you're like with a crew of 9 people and playing in front of all these people, and you know you've got to be, there's deadlines and you know venue loading and all this sort of stuff. So it's like, yeah, it is pretty wild. You're kind of battling once you get home to try and get that half of your mental space that's left behind to then just kind of almost like line back up to what you're doing now.
It's like people praise you in public for what you craft in private.
Yeah, that's a very profound way of putting it, Dean.
But thank you. Try my best. But it's like I haven't thought about that. But obviously, when you're writing music, do you feel like you ever get inspirational right when you're on tour, or is it like you come home, you write, and then you kind of take that out and then obviously tour with it? But are you ever out on tour and something will hit you, or you'll kind of get inspiration from being on the road, or something will come along?
I must admit, I'm not the savviest of lyricists. I struggle when it comes to like, I struggle being on tour and finding inspiration from things. Like I've got plenty of mates in the music industry that can like literally look at a tree on tour and be like, oh my God, that's a really nice tree. Like I'm going to write a 40-page essay on it. I can't do that, Like I'm so like distracted and just kind of like locked into what we're doing.
Where do you get most of your inspiration from then, if it's not trees?
See, this is a lot. I've been doing a lot of soul searching. Actually, both myself and Zane have been doing a lot of soul searching with how we get inspiration, and it's something that we've both struggled with because a lot of our music that we've released in the past has been tailored from personal experience, things that have actually happened to us. We're not very good fictional writers. Non-fiction? Fiction.
Yeah, non-fiction.
Non-fiction. We can't just sort of like make up a story.
Oh, fiction, actually. I think
fiction,
it's fiction.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking that, I was like, yeah, fiction writers.
Yeah. It's really hard to like find inspiration in something and then create a world from that. I find for me personally.
You have to live it.
Yeah. And then sort of put that on paper and express it and express emotion and a lot of the time, I mean, a lot of our music in the past it's like happy music, but it's sad lyrics. And I suppose that's how we've done things for a while now, but we've been doing a lot of soul searching and a lot of really trying to force ourselves to write and open up to a different world of writing to try and, I suppose, lean into the more of the fictional side of things. Try and not so much fictional, but just creating a world out of nothing, or creating a world out of something so minute. Finding that little bit of beauty in something that I wouldn't have looked at before, and thought that. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm balls deep in that journey right now, man. Like really trying that out. Yeah, really trying to figure it out.
You said something then. You said your song's really happy, but the lyrics are really sad. Talk me through that. Is there a reason behind that?
I think, well, I mean, for the most part, one of the things that I've kind of come to realize in this career is that like happy songs are like someone that listens to music myself and yourself and everyone listens to music. Happy music is there's a novelty to it. You know, there's like a good this is a good summer song. Like crack open a couple of beers and listen to this, and it's in the moment. There's a novelty to it, and that novelty lasts so as long as you know what you're experiencing it for, or however long you like that song for. You know, you could play that song to death, and then you get sick of it, and it's on to the next one. Sad songs, or not so much sad songs, but songs with deeper lyrics that sort of grasp onto a deeper connection. They're the songs that kind of last. And I suppose from a songwriting point of view, a lot of the songs that we've written have kind of got I suppose sadder lyrics to it because they're the ones that have meant the most to us, and they're the feelings and emotions that have stuck and kind of bubble through the surface. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I feel like people want to listen to something that's gonna like make them cry or make them think.
Yeah, it creates an emotion.
Creates an emotion. Yeah. Like happy songs. Happy songs are great, you know. But it's the sad songs. It's the songs that really touch on something that we don't want to talk about. They're the ones that people remember. And as a songwriter, that's the stuff that I remember. That's the stuff that I want to write about.
Does it ever feel challenging writing about that stuff because you're obviously you're hitting an emotion, but that emotion isn't a good emotion, and then you're just diving into it constantly, and then you're not only diving into it constantly, but now you have a room of thousands of people singing an emotion that was hitting constantly.
Yes and no. There's a few. I mean, I suppose like if something negative happens to me, I'll take the opportunity to write about it in the moment. Whether that moment is not necessarily time dependent. Like that moment could be a day or 6 months. But I'll write something, and Zane's the same as well. Like we'll write something within that moment, how we're feeling as a form of expression, and almost as like a cathartic experience. Because by the time you get that out on paper, you do feel better about it. The funny thing is though, is that like repurposing that for an audience and then having to perform that. And one of the songs that does come to mind, I mean, for the most part, it's like it is what it is. It's almost like a version of yourself that you kind of like create here, and then you just tap into it, and then like you just kind of leave it there. But there, like one song that does come to mind is a song called "Simple Question," which I wrote eons ago, well before me and Zane met. I wrote it when I was in high school after my brother passed away. And it's about asking people, are you okay? And that's a funny one because for the most part, we'll perform that song, and it'll be sweet, it'll be fine. But then every now and then there's just like that one performance every now and then that I'll tap probably a little bit deeper into that version of myself back in, grade 11 or 12 or whenever it was that my brother passed away, and I'll revisit that kid and I'll actually kind of get a bit sad. So yeah, there is those moments every now and then. That's probably the one bit of creative work that we've done that we'll kind of
tap back into.
Yeah.
Do you think it's bad though to feel that?
No, not at all. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the song really, is to remind people that it's okay to feel this way, and it's okay to not be okay, and we should be asking people, are you okay? So I feel like I would be a hypocrite if I wasn't forthright with you and saying that, if every now and then when I do play that song, I get sad, because that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, to feel that.
Yeah.
How did your brother pass away?
He took his own life about 11 or 12 years ago. It was 2012, maybe 2012, 2013. Yeah. It was pretty. It was out of the blue. It was
unexpected.
Yeah, very unexpected. And but yeah, and I feel like that experience in itself. I mean, those experiences, they shape people. There's just no way of going about it, and you can go several different ways. I'm grateful in the fact that it's shaped me to be. I mean, I like to think that I'm a all right human. I like to think that experience has kind of shaped me to be who I am today, in some regards. But yeah.
Was he quite a happy, outgoing person before this obviously happened?
Yeah, he was a legend. There's a big age gap between me and my brothers. I have 3 older brothers, and there's like 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. And so he was the youngest of my older brothers. So he was kind of the closest to my age. You know, my 2 eldest brothers, there's a bit more of an age gap where Shannon is his name. Feel like there was probably a little bit more of a commonality there that I could kind of see, especially too, like being at his age was when he passed away. I can kind of see some commonality there, and like looking back, like, yeah, he was just like he was just a real dude, like someone that I kind of aspire to be. You know, he wasn't a pushover. You know, if he was just a really nice dude, really good dude, would give you the shirt off his back, but if you pissed him off, he'd tell you, and he would really tell you. And I admire that, and I feel like sometimes like I fail to do that. Like, you know, I feel like it's pretty easy to be a pushover.
People pleasing.
Yeah. But no, he was really, really, really good dude, really solid dude.
Was it so? There wasn't any signs or anything that he was not in the best way. He just
it was bizarre, man. Like that day is like ingrained in my head. It was weird, man. Like I had a really shit day at school. Came home, I was doing the whole classic like edgy teen thing. I got home, I grabbed my skateboard, I skated down to like the waterfront, sat there and like looked at the sunset, thinking about all my teen problems and shit. And then it was just a really weird, glum day. And then came home, and then that's when we got the news, and it was the most like heart wrenching news to find out. It was my brother that told us, and he'd been rushed to the hospital, and so we living on Bribie at the time. We just got in the car straight away, straight down to Brisbane, sorry, and on went the worst 3 days. Easily the worst 3 days of my life to this point. Just waiting in that ICU room, and just and it was really it was super unexpected, really, really, really unexpected. But it was. I feel like, you know, our family kind of went through this turmoil, and like my family, like we all love each other to bits. I've got a beautiful family, but we physically we live quite far away from each other. But I think that one little experience kind of really forced us to really come together as a family and have each other's backs. And ever since then, we're all very much like, with each other.
Pain brings people together, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was it's funny how you just described him. I feel like I've got similar traits to that, where I try and help people as much as I can, but there's definitely a point when you kind of go too far, and then I feel like I kind of have a firm stop on that as well. But I always questioned when you saw people that were really happy, and then like Robin Williams, for example, and there's other people I can draw on that are really happy people and they take their own life. And I'd always question, why is someone so happy like doing that? And I started to think about it, and my own personal experience is, if you can feel great levels of happiness, you can also feel great levels of sadness. Like you're open to both those emotions. They can go either way. And when I was I've talked about this openly on heaps of podcasts now, I'm very open about it, but when I was about 11, I tried to take my own life. And I think about like how no one expected me to do that, and no one would think I would do that because from the outside I was such a happy kid, and from the surface such a happy kid. But there's like so much underneath that like people don't see. Like you hide behind a smile so easily.
Yeah.
So for so long, like I hid behind a smile, but it made me kind of question. It's like when you see people that are really happy, it's like they've probably gone through some shit, or there's some stuff there that they've had to like work through or deal with. And I would question the fact that like, would you rather be numb to everything or feel everything deeply?
Oh, without a doubt, feel everything deeply. I mean, like, I'm a creative, so I have to. But apathy is the worst, I think. And you know, we've all gone through bouts of apathy, every single one of us, and it's horrible. You don't know what's up, what's down. You don't know how to feel. That's the issue. You don't know how to feel. It's the how that's the worst part. Feeling deeply, as much as it sucks. It's horrible, but you have to walk through the shit to get through the other side. Feeling is human, and if you're not feeling, then you're not processing anything. You're not taking any steps towards an end path. So I'm a very sensitive person. I mean, I'll cry at the drop of a hat, which I'm like, I'm very open about that. And
but it's better. It's healing, man.
Yeah,
it's so healing.
100%. Yeah, it's human.
Yeah,
like I suppose that's like because at our shows we talk about mental health a lot, and we talk about it because we want to normalize this idea, especially for young men. We want to talk about it and normalize this idea that it's okay to cry. Like crying, like literally crying is this like, it's a deep-seated primal instinctual thing. It's a process that we were actually given as humans to do, to release endorphin and to process stress. So why wouldn't we do that? So, it's this, the understanding that it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel and process emotions. It's a human thing, and we have to do it. So, yeah, I think if I had to choose between being apathetic and feeling way too much, I would definitely feel way too much.
Yeah. But I guess it's just understanding those emotions when they come up. And I guess having someone like you as a role model in a band, it's like, it's okay, man. It's all good. We all do it. Because I think that's the biggest thing now is you get these people that seem from the outside, well, they are like successful and really driven and doing all this stuff, and they come and go, no, I've been through some shit. I felt some stuff. I've not had a hard run, but like life gets thrown at all of us pretty hard at times. And you go, it's okay, man. Like, just feel it, deal with it, go through it. It's going to be all good. But this idea that you can just keep like putting it under the rug, blocking it down, pushing it down, it's just like, man, it's going to come up.
Well, it's like that doesn't help. That doesn't help at all. Like, I mean, it's like everyone knows that you're not supposed to bottle up your emotions. It's like it's common sense. But I mean, like, that's the hard part is about mental health. Is it's easy knowing, it's another thing experiencing it yourself. And we all go through bouts of denial. When something bad happens, you do kind of want to like deny it happening. Be like, no, I was happier before I knew this, or before this thing happened to me. If I just kind of lean into that part of me before this experience, then I could maybe I can process this a bit better. But that's irrelevant. It's not applicable anymore because you're not that person anymore before this negative event took place.
Yeah, you're constantly changing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why, like, it's the same thing with positive things as well. You're also not the person that you were before a positive event happened in your life as well. And we lean into that because it's easy to lean into positive events. But, as I was sort of saying before, it's the whole novelty thing. That again, it comes back to that age-old saying, we take things for granted. It's the positive things, like it's the novelty of it. It lasts for as long as you're over whatever the positive thing that happened, but it's the negative stuff that we really take with us. And that's why it's so important to lean into it and to sit with your feelings, to sit with yourself. Not sit by yourself, sit with yourself. That's a big thing that I learnt through all of it. It's so important.
Yeah. I get what you mean there. What did you find the best thing, obviously, coming out of this like tragedy and this loss? How did you feel like you sat with it and processed it and dealt with it? What was the best thing that you did to help? And obviously the songwriting, I guess, would have been a part of that, like putting his memory into a song.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the songwriting was just like that was an obvious sort of thing. Like I was always, I grew up in a musical family, so like I was always kind of creatively, music was my creative outlet, so that was kind of like the obvious thing to do. But I suppose the thing about it is that, it happened at a very weird time. It happened when I was in high school at a very developmental part of my life. So, it's not like it happened in my adulthood when I'm kind of, I know we're always shifting and changing, but it's not like it happened in my adulthood where I've got some sort of stability. Like I was kind of in this stage where I'm learning so much about the world, and I have yet to learn what life is like outside of, the school fence. So I think at the time when it happened, within my perspective, not that I wasn't failing grades, but I just didn't really care too much about school when I was, in my like junior years. But after that happened, I really knuckled down because, I saw how the whole event really, like, watching mum, it tore me to pieces. And my mum is my, like, fucking hero. Like, I love my mum so much. Oh, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. And I think seeing her, like, really struggling with it all, I really wanted to knuckle down and give to her something that maybe blossomed from that tragic event. And so at the time, like the thing that that I grew from was, like I knuckled down on my grades, did better at school, went to university, got my degrees, and then I think it just gave me a broader perspective on life, and that it taught me to actually give a shit.
So you could just as easily have gone the opposite direction. So many people do.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's a lot. That's the tragic thing, and like, it's a tragic thing because like I didn't want to be like the whole woe is me, like just blame it on that. Like I can just fucking not give a shit anymore, and then whatever shit happens or whatever bad stuff I do, I can just blame it on that. I didn't want to do that. Because, like, why? It's not benefiting anyone. It's not benefiting me. It's not in good. It's not. It's not respectful to the tragic event that happened as well. That's the thing. The event had weight to it, and like that's the thing. A lot of negative events that happen to us in life have weight to it. So the choices that we make after, you have to weigh up whether the choices you're making have respect to the event that actually happened. What am I, the thing that I'm doing right now is just going to make up for that.
Yeah. But like you said, it can go either way.
It can.
It can go either way. And more times than not, when something tragic happens to someone like that, they go, it's like, woe is me, I'm a victim here, or I've had a shit deck of cards, I'm going to play that. Like, there's do you know who Jordan Peterson is? There's a bit, and it really hit me because I've talked about this before, I'll brush over it quickly, but it talks about like, who would you be at your father's funeral? And as a kid thinking about, or younger person thinking about that, it's just, I had this idea in my brain that, because my parents would travel a lot, I would always think that they were going to be in a plane crash. I think when I was younger and they had like 9/11, I just kept thinking that like they're going to go away and they're going to be in a plane crash. And I thought, like, what would I do if that happened? And I was like, I'd run away. And that was like my just initial instinct was just run away and just not deal with it. And then like you said, it's like that has weight to it. Imagine if whoever, like, they're someone's kids. Now, my parents are someone's kids and they've passed away and now their grandkids runs away as well. So now you've got 3 people that have gone. But again, it's like being self-aware enough to know, okay, something terrible has happened. This has got weight to it. now I need to show up more and actually play a role in this and not just run away or be like, oh, well, I got a shit deck of cards. I'm gonna use that as an excuse, because I think it sounds bad to say this, but excuses don't mean shit. And it doesn't matter how good or bad your excuse is for why you ended up where you've ended up. It's like, no one gives a fuck. And you could have the shittest go, but someone out there has had a shitter go and is doing better than you.
Mm.
And once you realize that someone else there has had it way worse than you and is still doing way better than you, fucking like make the most out of it. Like, and like you said, you used the negative and turned it into a positive. It's like, okay, I need to actually knuckle down. I need to do something for my mum to actually show that I feel this. Like, this is something good can come out of this, and not just go the opposite direction. Because even when you were explaining, I thought you were going to say, I fucking didn't care about school and I just fucking flunked out and I was like, fuck the world. And that's what I was waiting for. And I started a band and it's called Dreggs, and you know what I mean? Like,
I know I got long hair. I know I look the part.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, that was because I didn't know the story. So I thought you were going to say, fuck, I had a shit go. And I leant the other direction, because it's like the whole idea. It's like heroes and villains both come from pain.
Mm.
It's like, heroes use it in a positive way, villains use it in a negative way. But it's like pain is what created both of them. It's like you decide which way you want to go with this, and you went the right way.
Mm.
But where do you reckon that mentality came from to know to go, okay, I need to do the right thing and not the wrong thing there? Because obviously, like, you only know the way you're going, but so many other people, and probably people listening to this, would know a circumstance in their life where they've gone the other direction when they know they shouldn't have.
Mm. I think a couple I mean, like, you know, Shannon, as I said before, he was just a really, really, really beautiful human. And I know that the choices that I made, I wanted to make a choice that he would have respected. I know he would have made that choice, to knuckle down and to make something out of nothing, or not nothing, but something out of a tragedy. And but the other thing is to, like, my family's beautiful. Like, I grew up in an older family. As I said before, my brothers are much older than me, so I was kind of always surrounded by older role models.
Wait, was your brother that passed away, was he older or younger?
Older.
He was older, okay.
Yeah.
How much older was he when?
8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, yeah, I suppose kind of growing up in a family where, you know, all the members of my family had already gone through the developmental stage of being an edgy teenager, and sort of like seeing adults and how they interact and their choices. I think just kind of, you know, seeing that probably helped. But also too, I think the main thing was, like, again, my mum. Like, Dad hasn't been in the picture for a very long time. My dad's a fuckwit. Like, I don't get along with him. And seeing how the interaction between my mum and my dad growing up, mum was a fucking trooper. Like, she was a trooper, still is. Like, having to deal with all the shit, you know, that Dad put her through, and then see her dealing with the loss of her son. It inspired me as the teenager that I was. It inspired me, and I looked up to Mum and thought, "Fuck, you are a strong woman, and I love you for that." And yeah, I don't know. I think at the time I just didn't want to. I didn't want to fuck around. I didn't want to make choices that would disappoint her, because that would kill me. That would you know, destroy me.
You saw the effort she was putting in, so you're like, I got to match that.
Yep.
Were your parents together at the time?
No,
they weren't. But obviously, they still had a connection through you and obviously your other brothers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck, man, that's the like to go through that, plus then obviously looking after you, still coming up like through high school, and man, that's fucking.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, dude. Like, it's like, I would give anything to have my brother back. But I mean, it wasn't, I still had a childhood. Like I was still, I was still doing dumb shit. I still had fun as a kid, and even after everything that happened, like I still had a beautiful life growing up. I think that's the thing too, is that seeing how my mother is like very much someone that she will make something out of nothing. She will make ends meet. She will make something positive out of something negative, and she will, like, that is just her. And I think, like, I praise my mum for how she grew me up. Brought me up?
Raised me.
Raised me?
Yeah. I grew me up.
Grew me up? Yeah. Fuck it, why not?
The tree analogy's coming back.
Yeah,
I saw this tree and it grew me up.
Yeah, grew me up.
Yeah.
No, like I'm gonna just put it down to that. Like, I think growing up, seeing this person make something out of nothing all the time, I think that was the sort of the deciding factor at that time for me to just be like, you know what, there's something out of this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know, like it was shit, but also too, I had a beautiful.
Still was
life.
good, yeah. It's crazy what loss though can do for developing a person into understanding themselves better, and then in turn the rest of the world. Because I had this thing, and like I didn't know it happened at the time, but I'd meet girls and I'd be quite attracted to them, mentally, emotionally, physically, all of it, and I get to know them more. And they had this trait where so many of them had lost their dad at a young age, and it happened, and I was like, some of these girls, and it was like, obviously in losing someone, you have to then find yourself more. You have to look after, like, if you don't have that role model, that figure, man, there's a lot of time growing up where you've got to go in on yourself a little bit more and go, fuck, okay, I need to learn, like, the what'd you say, like, life becomes harder. And because it becomes harder, you become better at dealing with it. And especially from a young age, like losing such a key pillar in your life, being a father or a brother or something like that, it's like you have to work out the skills to go, okay, now I've felt real loss and I've dealt with real loss, and now I can use that and become a better person. It's like you don't want to put people through shit, but at the same time, who they become after coming out of the other side of that it's pretty beautiful to see how someone can, like, you're more appreciative of life, you understand it better, you want to get more out of it, and it comes from, obviously, you said, like, a negative, but it can be such a big positive.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like that old adage, calm seas don't make a good sailor.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just simply it. You are who, you are who you are in the face of adversity. It's like, we need challenges we need life to throw us curveballs, so that we can kind of use those opportunities to define who we are as humans and where we go from there. And as you said before, there are two ways you can go about it, positive or a negative way. But yeah, we need those challenges in life, and like, not only do we need them, it's just a part of life. Like, it's gonna happen, shit's gonna happen. So yeah,
working out ways to deal with it. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I was going to ask you, we talked about how we're obviously writing music. You said before, it's like, oh, it's a job. Was there a point for you when you were doing it out of just the love of passion of writing music and performing? And did you feel when it got to a point when obviously you're making money and it's becoming more of a job, did you feel a shift in your love for it? And how did you deal with that, if there was a shift?
Dude, I remember the first time, Zane and myself looked at like the pay package that we got from our first ever headliner show, and we were like, what the fuck, man? Like, we almost felt it, like, I don't know, it could be, it's probably different for everyone in whatever field they do, but we almost felt guilty. We're like, what the fuck? Like, we started playing music as a joke. Like, you know, it was just something like fun to do. And it kind of, I suppose, you know, it got to this point where all of a sudden, you know, we're playing our own show. And then, yeah, at the end we saw this pay package come through of the ticket sales and what we'd made for the night. And we were like, what the hell? Like, this is so weird. Like, we did something so trivial, like to us, so trivial, and like something that we loved doing. And you almost feel guilty. Like, no, I don't want money for this. This is ridiculous. Like, you know, we were still like working at the time. You know, we were still like had full-time jobs, and it was just like, what the hell is this? But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of like this conflict of passion versus business. And I don't know. I think over time, every person that owns their own business like goes through it. You know, I think over time you just realize like this seed of a thought that I put all my time and passion and energy into it, and obviously I love doing it. Now meets like a commercial point of view, and so now you kind of I don't know, balance the two, and over time you kind of get desensitized to the idea that now not only are we like we're artists, but we're also businessmen as well.
Did it fuck with the creativeness of it as well? Because now you have to write music, not like I want to write music. It's like when the dog's chasing the car and it catches it.
Fuck yeah, it does, man. Yeah, but we're super lucky. Like our team they're legends. Our management is like, I fucking love those boys to death. Joe and Aiden, they're just dudes. They get it. You know, like they're music people, and so that was one of the things they actually said to us when we first started working with them was like, we want you boys to, like, they had an analogy. It was like, you know, you guys are driving the bus, we're in the back seat giving you directions to where we think you should go, but ultimately it's up to you and how long you want to get there. And so, you know, they've given us like so much autonomy. So in terms of like deadlines and pressures to write music and things like that, they're great. Like you know, we've actually had to be on their case, being like, no, like, you know, be on us. But yeah, it is. I suppose that's part of what I was saying before about the whole soul searching thing. Like that is part of it. Is now we're at a point in our career where we have to write music. Like this is our job now. Where we're not here to fuck spiders. We're in too deep. So yeah, it's hard to try and like lean into a creative space, which takes time, and you don't want to force outside elements. But yeah,
Do you almost want to just put your like? Do you find? Because I feel like for me, when I'm more creative, I need to like remove myself from my normal environment and go somewhere else, even like by myself, to just go okay and experience new things, to then obviously find some like fuel to write. Do you feel like you need to do that? Like obviously you went to Thailand recently. Did you feel like there was a different fuel there or different feeling, or was that just more like going on holiday and chilling, or like where do you need to put yourself to like create?
I don't necessarily need to be in a particular area or like place to be creative. I'm very like inward with my creativeness. I could be sitting on a plane going to somewhere and might have an idea come to mind. So for that reason, like I don't really put pressure on like a lot of people respectively, they you know, they might go on a writing retreat like I want to go hire out a cabin in the middle of the woods somewhere and I know I'm going to write stuff out there. I can't do that because I know that's a pressure in itself. So it's like the pressure of like knowing that I'm going to be somewhere and try and write something out of it is a pressure on itself. So like I suppose for me, like this Thailand trip, I shut off. I didn't even think about music. I didn't want to think about music. This last 2 months has been great because, you know, the first like couple of weeks I was feeling guilty because I was like I need to be writing music and I need to be like thinking about the next few things. And the same with Zane as well. We've had multiple conversations about this. He struggles with the same thing that I do. But he just went to the States and we literally had this conversation where, you know, we were both like, we just shut off. And it was amazing because not thinking about it kind of reset us to then being creatively within ourselves again. So now that we're both back home, we've both been back in the studio and like, you know, creating that creative space within ourselves to actually think and do what we need to do as a job.
Do you ever, obviously you don't repeat the same thing twice, but like, do you think back to when you have written songs that have had like massive hits? Do you remember where you were when those things happened, or do you ever try and tap back into that, or you just like, that was that point in time and then that was it for it?
Dude, that's the weird thing, man. Like, this is like, and don't take this as self-pity, but like, I look at, like, both myself and Zane, we look at our music, we're just like, what the fuck, man? Like, you know, like, Give Myself to You was like, which, like, that, actually that song went platinum this week in Australia, which we found out, which was pretty cool.
And then you're about to shit on it, aren't you?
I'm about to shit hard on it.
Just went platinum, but
dude, that like, it's like, it's stomp, clap, middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, man. Like, nah, like you know, that I wrote the lyrics to that song separately to Zane in like, I think like, it was just like a poem that I kind of came up with just kind of randomly. Didn't really put too much thought process into it. And then Zane just like came over with this like guitar structure. He's like, oh, what do you think of this? And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds pretty cool. What do you think of this? And then like the lyrics just kind of matched up perfectly to the song. I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds all right. Maybe let's go get it recorded. And then got it recorded, and it's now the one fucking song that people don't want to stop listening to. Fucking pisses. Thank you for everyone's support. Nah, it is. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real with you right now. Like, every artist has that, like, that one song that like does that, you know, has done so well, and like, you know, almost in a way like you wouldn't be where you are without that one bit of art. But every artist has that one song that they're just fucking sick to death of playing, and like, and for good reason too, because, you know, as we were saying before, like, you grow and change as people.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you're a new person now.
Yeah, so. Like, I mean, we wrote that song in like 2017. We're not the same people that we were back then, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah,
What's your favorite song? Like, what's your favorite song that you love playing the most currently now?
Well, we released a new album, and because, I mean, we've been playing the same like 12 songs for like the last 5 years. Like, not much is like, and that like I have to give it to the, like, our fans and supporters. Like, we love them to death, because the fact of the matter is, like, we haven't really, up until this last year, I feel almost a bit guilty because we hadn't really brought too much to the table in terms of like new music and bringing new elements to the shows and whatnot. But people still rocked up, and we fucking love them for that. And like, we're so grateful, and we're so lucky to have that. So with respect to that, I must admit, it is so refreshing to have new music and bring this album out. And yeah, there's a few songs on there. Oh, I don't know what my favorite song is. Probably Look to the Stars, maybe. It's like, I don't know, it's a bit more challenging to play, and it's just a bit more of a groovier song. But we've got new music we're actually really excited, because we're working on another album now. And this new music that we got coming out is, again, like another step in terms of progression from this album that we've just brought out.
You need to stay excited, hey? Because if you're bringing a new album out, like, that excitement will channel through to your stage presence, and the people will feel it.
Yeah.
And then obviously throw some 1, 2 in there. And,
you got to keep the 1, 2, 3, 4 in there.
You got to throw that in there. But if you're coming on a stage and you're like, I've got some new stuff that I want to put out there, but I guess that's always a daunting challenge as well when you're bringing out new music, and obviously people love you for these like staple songs that you have, and then you're throwing new stuff in the mix, and you're like, how's that going to be received?
It's daunting, man. Yeah, it like when we released this album, I'd be lying to you if I said there wasn't like this anxiety. Both myself and Zane felt about playing these new shows, especially too because we've always been a duo, and then the last year we've rebranded ourselves. We're still on face value, Paddy and Zane, the Dreggs duo, but we play as a full band now at our shows. And so that was like another thing. Was like, oh, are people going to take to this? And for the most part, like they have, like, and it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see the support that there's a couple people there that like, you know, have shown their distaste towards it. But you're always
really?
How
so?
Just fuckwits. No, just people that I don't know. I call it sour, but I think if you're an OG fan of whatever artist, whether it be music, any field, sports, music, whatever. If you're an OG fan of someone, it means that you're someone that's willing to be there from the start and also grow with them. And I think that, for me personally, because I mean, don't forget, like I also listen to music. I also have artists that are my favorite artists. And I've also gone through moments where like my favorite artist has brought out an album that I'm just like, oh,
that's not it.
That's not it. But then I'll channel back into how I feel about my our music and what I would like to receive from the people that follow us. And then that kind of then forces me to go back, actually, no, you know what? I'll listen to it a few more times with a different perspective. And 9 times out of 10, I'll end up actually finding something within that new piece of art from my favorite artist that I enjoy. And so, yeah, I don't mean to be sour about it, but yeah, there's been a couple of people that are like, that just sort of say negative things, and it's like, nah, like, but you know.
Then it doesn't matter, man. Like, that's the whole thing. If you're willing to put something out on stage that you're proud of, like, that's all that matters.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's the thing, like, who I'm talking about is like very, very, very small percentage of people. Like, it does not matter one bit. And that's what I mean before when I said, like, we are so grateful and so like lucky to have a fan base that you know have stuck through with us and are willing to like be on this journey with us, because that's what it is. It's a journey. It's a journey for us as much as it is for our fans as well. And the people that are like sticking to us and supporting us and are keen to see where we go with new music is like, it's a beautiful thing, and I love you guys for it.
I was going to say as well, because I've seen artists, because I can imagine how doing the same song over and over again for years. For example, though, I watched Hilltop Hoods at Splendor, and I think they played Nosebleed section, but then they got Aboriginal artists to come on and rap new like lyrics over the top of it, and it just revamped the whole thing. Yeah. And I was like, that's fucking sick. That's cool. You can bring people in and revamp something that, because I've seen them live a heap of times, and like you still love it, it's great. But if you can do that now, I just remember that now, and I'm like, fuck, that's so good. So I don't even know with you if you kind of to revamp a song or like somehow change it up in a way that could.
Nah, just fucking leave them in the past.
Just leave them in the past. Yeah, they're done. They're done.
Nah, we've got this like idea that, because part of the whole band thing is that we can kind of separate the duo with the band thing. So like, you know, we might have this romantic idea of every now and then, you know, it'd be nice to like put on like an intimate show where we kind of do just strip it back to just us two again, and then we do play some of the older songs and have a chat with the people in front of us and talk about why and where and, you know, who we wrote those songs about and whatnot. So like, yeah, there's still a place in our hearts for those past songs, but they are also past versions of ourselves.
Did you actually write that song, Give Myself to You, for a person? Is that person still in your life at all?
Oh God, no.
No. Did she know it was written for her?
I don't know.
Or does he know it was written for her?
I don't know if she does. She fucking hates me, man.
Does she?
Yeah, the whole family hates me.
Oh really?
Yeah, which is whatever. But
Do you reckon if she knew it was about her, she would hate you more, just knowing that that song is constantly being sung
maybe.
about
Yeah,
her?
I mean, wouldn't you?
I don't know. It's just like every time it comes on the radio, it's like, fuck, this is about me.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's a trooper. Like, if she does know it, she's a trooper. Yeah, good on her for whatever.
Sticking it in.
Just for sticking it in.
I was going to ask you, what's like going on with the state of Aussie music at the moment? Because you guys were supposed to headline, well, not headline, but main stage at Splendor.
Mm.
And then obviously it all kind of fell apart. And I feel like Aussie music over the last few years is kind of like bigger festivals haven't really been going ahead, and it's harder to get funding, and it just seems like there's a bit of a lull with it. What's from your experience, what's going on with the whole Aussie music scene at the moment?
It's funny, everyone's got their own opinions on this, but the fact of the matter, like, everyone's right. Like, everyone's opinion, it's actually, it's an amalgamation of a lot of different things. I mean, for one, we all know the economy's, it's not the best right now. That's not a discussion that we have to have right now. We all know it. But the problem comes down to the fact that it is expensive to get overseas headline artists, because, I mean, when you're paying, you know, when the Aussie dollar isn't making up for what they could just make down the road in their own country, it's not worth it. It's really not worth them flying all the way out to little old Australia to play for, a fee that they're not, it's not their usual fee. And, I suppose the Australian festival market just doesn't have the money to sort of pay that, which is, understandable. This is what I'm going to say is like a personal thing, and this is like the nitty gritty of it, and this is just my opinion, but I think, and this is something that Zane and I, we had an opportunity to talk to Hack on Triple J about this, and we sort of touched on this, but now is like so important for Australians to actually get behind Australian music, and I think we have kind of lost our way a bit, unfortunately. I think there was this golden era where a lot of Australians were really backing Australian music, and we would actually go to festivals to see up and coming Australian bands because we were proud of it. And I think that culture is kind of a little bit lost in recent years. And I think it's important now more than ever that we do have to actually support Australian music. And I think that's part of the problem, is that a lot of people are putting a lot of precedence on getting these massive international headlining acts to come play. And when festivals can't bring those acts, all of a sudden people's, their expectations are let down. They're like, oh, this is shit. That's the festival's not worth going to. And it's like, it's not that it's worth going to. There's still plenty of acts on there that are worth seeing. You just had this expectation that you were going to see this AAA, headliner from the States that you probably wouldn't see very often come play. And I get it. Like, it can be disappointing, but I think that's also part of the problem, is that people don't want to pay money to see these bands, these up and coming bands that, but it's a twofold thing, because it also comes down to the festivals and how much they're selling tickets for as well. So it's a problem from like all different angles. It's like, how much are the tickets? Can a patron see value within the ticket? There's I actually reckon, with everything going on right now, the festivals that are doing super well are the boutique sort of little one-day festivals that were kind of operating in the background a little bit. If you're comparing them to things like Splendor and Falls and all these really major festivals, these smaller festivals are actually starting to become really it's their time to shine. And they've sort of taken this really good approach. Big Pineapple Festival, for example, is one of them, up in the Sunshine Coast. They've cultivated a lineup it's a modest lineup, it's a good lineup, and they're not charging out the ass for it. They're charging a good, reasonable, valuable price for it. So right then and there, a customer's going to see the price. They're going to go, okay, that's within the way. I can afford that with the wage that I'm on right now. I can afford that, while I'm paying $20 for a fucking bit of lettuce. and then they look at the lineup and they go, okay, cool, that's actually a really good value lineup. So I think the now is this new era for a lot of these single day festivals to actually sort of approach the situation like that, and you can already see it kind of coming into fruition, and I think that right there is the best way that we can cultivate a culture of Australians supporting Australian music again, and I think that would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah, just the value of what you actually get out of it for how much it's worth. Because you see festival tickets for like $250.
Oh man,
it's like that's like a day festival.
Yeah, and that's the problem too, man. Is it like when you're charging upwards of that, your criteria of who you want to see becomes a lot more specific. You know, I mean, like for me personally, like I get value out of a ticket for a festival if I know that I can see 5 bands that I want to see, and then potentially 5 bands that I know and want to see, and 5 bands that I would like to experience that I actually haven't listened to before, but know that like you know, I might see them online. I'm like, oh, I've never actually listened to those guys' music. I've seen them around. I might go see them live because, you know, I might actually start really wanting to support them. I think like that's how I find value in a ticket. And I think when you're spending like upwards of, you know, $250, $300 for a ticket, people's criteria for what they want to get out of it becomes very specific. And like, that's when it becomes difficult, is that when you're not bringing in these people that are catering for people's needs around that price market, that's when people go, oh, it's not fucking worth it.
Yeah, they just don't go.
And then that's when structures start to fall apart. And so that's what I mean. These like single day festivals are doing the right thing. They're kind of building it from the ground back up. You know, it's kind of been like, it's kind of refreshing to see. It's still like devastating to see like big festivals like Splendor and Falls, like holy shit, like it's devastating to see them not, you know, not happening.
How is that as well, the process of being like your main stage and then the whole thing's just done?
Dude, we were devastated. Because I mean, like Splendor's like it's
the biggest Aussie festival in Australia.
Yeah, for every aspiring Australian musician, that is like the festival that you're like, oh, I want to play Splendor. That's the goal. And you know, we that was the goal for us for such a long time. We got the call up. We're like, you know, management they called us up. You're like, you got it. We're doing Splendor, baby. And we're like, that's fucking awesome. Like that is like incredible news. On such a high. And then literally within like 2 months, it just all came crumbling down. And we were like, we were pretty bummed, man. We were pretty bummed. And like my heart goes out to all the other artists on there that also have had, like, obviously won't get to play. Especially also too, like a lot of artists like us that were like waiting to play this festival and now, like, you know, had that chance kind of ripped away from them. And, you know, also too, like the promoters, you know, all the people that like organize these festivals, like my heart goes out to them because it's hard work, man. Working events is like hard work. It's dicey. But
yeah, it's a lot of effort to just go in and then just to be so close. You're like, oh, we've done it. We're here. And then you realize you can just get ripped out from underneath you right at the goalpost.
Yeah.
Do you know what the future looks like with stuff like that? Because obviously if you're on the radar, if they do ended up doing it again at some point, you'd feel like, okay, well, name's kind of in the bucket now to like get pulled out, or you just kind of leaving it like you believe when you see it, more or less?
Yeah, I don't know. I know as much as anyone else, man. Like, I mean, you know, through management, we might get little bits of information here and there about where the music industry might be going, but yeah, we're in the dark as well. And I suppose like from a business point of view, we just have to keep just chugging along, taking every opportunity that we get, and just hope that it sort of the cycle starts again, and then, you know, things get better. We
just winging it.
Just winging it, man. Like, yeah. I mean, to be honest, like we've been having a lot of these discussions with management lately. And I think the thing that comes back to it is like we're really starting to try and cultivate our business, like cultivate our music in like other areas of the world as well, because we've been very Australian predominant for most of our career, which has been great because we've got an awesome loyal fan base in Australia, and with everything going on, times are tough, so we're sort of trying to like lean into the world demographic. We've got a First States tour coming up next year as well. So I think these are the things that we're doing personally to try and make ends meet so that we can have the money to keep doing what we get to do. And then hopefully within time, the homegrown Australian festival scene then starts to flourish again.
Comes back. Because you're in England as well recently.
Yeah.
How is that going over there, and what's the kind of fan base and crowd like it compared to like Australia when you do travel overseas?
I mean, like Europe and UK, like comparatively, like obviously, England in itself is a very different culture from Australia, but comparatively between UK and Europe, UK crowds are actually very similar to Australian crowds. Just really like energetic, like heaps of noise, super pumped up. Everyone's on the beers, like
Everyone's feeling it.
Everyone's feeling it, yeah. Very, very similar to Australian crowds in that regard. Europe crowds are very intimidating. Like,
Why is that?
They're like, this is something I really respect about Europeans, right? Is that the music for them, that's the plan for the night. It's like back home, it's you go see a band, but that you're going to be drinking with the band, and you also know that there's going to be a potential for going out afterwards as well. So the music for a lot of people is kind of like it's a tertiary plan, to a wider array of things happening that night. In Europe, that's the goal.
You are everything to me.
Yeah.
Paddy, you are everything. I'm not doing anything before, after, or ever again. You are my world.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, but they will literally come to a show and they are there for the show. They don't need to drink. They are there for the show, and it's fucking intimidating because they're the kind of crowd that like they're pin drop silent. And you're like, are you guys enjoying this? Like, I feel like you're not enjoying this.
Yes, we love this.
Yeah, yes, we love this.
Yes.
Very good.
yes. Yeah. More, please, more.
No, like literally, like it's the energy for them shows in their passion for music.
Yeah.
Not like outwardly how loud they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they can be loud. Like we've had some European audiences that like, they'll be like quiet as all hell during the song, but then after the song they're just like, guns blazing, but then back to being like pin drop silent, and they're like their eyes are on you, man.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Like you can't fuck up. You cannot fuck up. Like they will know.
True, that's crazy. I never thought about that. The different like cultures and how they would actually just view music.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
Have you got a country in particular where they're just like extra eyes on?
The Germans.
The Germans.
The Germans. I love playing in Germany.
But the pressure's on.
The pressure's on, man. Like you have to be on time and like punctual and like don't fuck up. Nah, it's not that hectic. But
you feel it.
You feel it.
It's a different.
Yeah. They like. Yeah. I love. As I said, I love playing in Germany. We've had some awesome German crowds and met some like awesome German people as well.
What was it feeling like when you started obviously travel internationally and go, fuck, we kind of made it. Like we're doing it. Was there a moment? Yeah. I mean, like the first time we flew over to Europe, there was that moment where we were like, what the fuck are we doing? We're on a flight going over to Europe playing like our songs. Like surely no one's gonna know who we are. Like
it was weird. Like we were kind of, it was sort of, yeah, you're in this like mental state of being like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? And then, yeah, we like went over and then like, of course, like our shows overseas are not as high capacity as they are here in Australia. But they're, you know, like, it's still insane to be able to go over and play to however many people that we end up playing to inevitably. It's still like a shock to us that we are traveling on the other side of the world and there's someone that doesn't, you know, like that speaks English as a second language that is like listening to our music and knows the words. And it's like, what the hell, man? Like, is it like like in May that we just went after releasing this album, like the fact that we were, again, the Germans, they're like, they knew all the lyrics to like our, like this new album. We're like, what the fuck? Like this thing's been out for like 2 seconds. You guys know the lyrics better than I do. Like you guys have to teach me the lyrics.
It's a trip, isn't it? To realize how invested some people are in your life, and from being on the other side of the world as well, like being so far away but still so connected to you in that way.
Yeah, it's scary. It's weird.
How I was going to ask as well, how's it been for you traveling and touring and trying to maintain like a romantic relationship as you're doing this job?
Yeah, like easy, good. Yeah, I mean, like obviously, you know, being away from home, it's like it's a challenge, and you know, like my partner's like really, yeah, you know what Nice is like. You know, she's a legend. She's super supportive, and you know, but it does get challenging. Like, you know, you miss your person.
I know I struggled with it a lot being away, and I felt like part of me was kind of convinced myself that I'd never be able to have a solid relationship with that kind of sporadic nature of only being in one place for 3 months at a time. And I was always like, how am I going to make this work? But obviously the right person, you make anything work. But I always felt like there was a big challenge there to be like, hey, I'm home. You get all of me all the time. And then I'm gone, you get none of me.
Yeah.
And that's a big...
It's a very big juxtaposition, isn't it? But I mean, like, yeah, it's something that we often talk about, and you know, like we've got we have like little things in place that sort of combat that as well. Like one of the conversations we've had is like, you know, every year we have to at least try and have one, you know, major getaway for just us. You know, like one trip for us, whether that be like a big, you know, like an Australian trip or going overseas, like at least one, to put time, effort, and money and excitement into for things for us. But yeah, I don't know. I to be honest, man, like I've had a few failed relationships in this career, and I put it down to it's nothing other than just like incompatibility. Nothing against them as people. Like I know, like we just released a whole album about breakup, and there's some angry songs on there about it. But like it's nothing against those people. It's just I think once you kind of find the right person that gels with who you are, because it's not just a job for me. It's who I am. It comes part and parcel with me, baby. Like you can't separate the two. So I think when it comes down to it, like my partner is like, she's super supportive and she just glues in with it. And yes, it does get hard when I'm away. It gets hard for both of us. But in saying that though, like it's nothing. It's, you know, we can get through it. It's fine. And it's not like I'm away forever. I come home and then we have all the time in the world with each other.
Yeah. I guess that's the part that I always found challenging was when I'd meet someone and be like off season in Australia, and you'd meet them and like I got so much free time. Like I'm off season, I'm not racing, I'm not competing. Like when you're not touring, and they get you all the time. And then you start training and you're like, all right, well I can see you like a little bit less. I'm still seeing you. And then it's like, all right, I'm going to Europe for 2-3 months. Nothing.
Yeah.
And I think when you kind of get in a relationship with someone that maybe works a normal job, you see them after work, blah, 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 you miss them during the day, but it's not like everything and then a little bit and then nothing.
Yeah.
And like that's a hard balancing act for people to kind of deal with. And I know I struggled with maintaining relationships and even having, I guess, a girlfriend or someone that could understand that lifestyle as well, because it's not normal.
No.
It's not a normal lifestyle to live. And then to be away and then time zones and all that, and especially being someone on stage where like obviously there's girls that are like at the show to see you, and that's something that a girlfriend would obviously have to internalize as well and be like, that's fine, that's all good. But it's still, all these things are like factors that come into a relationship, especially in that job, that people probably would look over and be like, you wouldn't think of, kind of thing, but it plays a role still.
Yeah. 100%. It's yeah, and like that's the thing, like, you know, there's still moments where like Shanice will be like, oh, I forget, you know, like I'll go away, like, you know, this last trip that we went to Europe, like, yeah, you know, well, actually both of us, you know, sort of be like, oh fuck, like forget I have to kind of do this as part of the job, but you know, it's like, it's, as I said, it's like it's nothing. Like you can get through it. It's like one little tiny bit of a hurdle that you got to get over it. And yeah, as I said, like.
And how nice is distance as well when you kind of appreciate someone more. Man,
like when I got back from Europe, I was like so sooky. I was like, I just wanted to like cuddle and like,
daddy chill.
Yeah, daddy chill. Dude, I probably pissed her off, man. She's probably get the fuck away from me.
But how nice is that though when you've actually got like you put distance between someone? Because I know so many people that become codependent in a relationship and then they smother each other to the point where then they actually like, oh, fuck, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But you can have like 2, 3, 4 weeks away from someone and you go, fuck, actually, it makes you realize how much you actually do miss that person when you don't have them.
Yeah.
Like when you can get smothered by someone, it's like, you know, let's take a step back and then see how it feels as well. So
it's also too like it's a point of conversation as well. Like I feel like, you know, being away on tour, and like I'm sure Zane would be the exact same as well. Like for both of us being away on tour and being away from our partners, it creates that distance and that, you know, that sort of time apart. But then you come back and you've got things to talk about. It's not like we've just spent, you know, weeks upon weeks upon weeks of, you know, working a 9 to 5 and then just sort of having the same conversation, you know, every night and then doing the same thing every weekend. So it's like these, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I suppose the point I'm trying to get at is that like these are the other perspectives that you look at it. You know,
the positives from it.
The positives from it is that, you get back, I get back from these tours and I have all these, you know, conversations that we can have and you know, it's like, you actually like, how have you been? Not like, how's your day? Like I literally saw you this morning. Like, how have you been?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's hard, but it's also, it's doable. It's fine.
You don't have to name names, but if you got a wild story, like while you're touring with another band or like some wild roadie story of something going down.
Dude, I hate this question because
you've got some, but you're like, can I put that out there?
No, like the opposite.
Oh,
dude.
you don't?
I don't. Like we're like so tame, dude.
Oh, damn it.
I know. I hate this question.
Just make something up. Make something up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Hilltop Hoods, man.
Yeah.
We rolled a bus. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was so wild. No, like.
All right, I got another question for you then.
Yeah,
is there another like artist? You said you have like your favorite artist. Has there been artists that have like you've kind of idolized or really liked, and then you've become friends with them through the music industry?
Yeah. One that comes to mind, his name is Kim Churchill. And I like one of my favorite artists through high school and like early years out of high school, like when I was at uni, like listened to him religiously. Very much an inspiration to my own songwriting. And we inevitably we met him and started hanging out with him and you know, it's like that whole thing, like, you know, never meet your heroes because, you know, they could be dicks. Kim is not a dick. Like, he's like, if you could take a dick, like the exact opposite of that, like that's Kim. Like he's just like he's a beautiful person. Like we're just like I've never met someone that he's
Good
just
dude.
he's just man, I'd do anything for him, mate.
Would you get him like collab on a track or something?
Yeah,
have you
fucking
ever talked about that?
Yeah, fucking oath. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that something you guys in like the music industry? Because I see some people do like collaborations and stuff. Are you guys just be like, hey, why not? Like if you come up with like a certain lyric or a certain like riff or something that would go together, you just be like, let's make it happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of canoodling in in the music industry behind the scenes. I mean, like
have you got some canoodling going down at the moment with anyone or any?
Behind the scenes, we do like we haven't like we're not releasing any music with other artists per se, but we are writing. Part of that songwriting journey is we're sort of putting ourselves out there to write with other people, and one of those people is Matt Corby, who we worked with on a song from our last album called Peeps for the Goods. He co-wrote that song with us, and that was an awesome experience. And then we've actually, next week, we're in the studio again with him and a fellow named Chris Collins, who's a very reputable producer. And I haven't met Chris yet, but apparently he's an absolute legend. So I'm very, very keen to jump in the studio with both of them and see what we can create from that. But that's, like behind the scenes, we're sort of starting to write a little bit more with other people and venture into that kind of side of things.
How does that go down to like you reach out to them, do you get your management, or like you're like, these are the certain people would like, because obviously you have a style that you'd want to work with, or do you kind of just put out feelers and see what kind of comes back?
So far it's been kind of like just kind of, potluck, who we've just been kind of like working with, and like there hasn't really been like a method as to like, it's not like we sort of said to our management, we want to work with this person, and they like have gone out of the way to organise that for us. We haven't really done anything like that so far. We've just kind of like, it's just through meeting people, and like, so we met Matt through a friend, and that kind of just eventuated from that. But I mean, we're like we're kind of currently flirting with the idea of maybe getting publishing, which will then open up a bit more of like an orthodox way of allowing us to like pretty much a catalogue of people to then choose from and go, that'd be really cool to work with them, and then potentially them teeing that up. But so far it's just kind of been like chill.
Just fine, like bumping into people. Just making it work that way.
Yeah, which has been fun. Like I think it's very organic doing it that way. Instead of it being very clinical and like, like I've organised you to meet with this artist.
It's like a blind date almost.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about like the songs that hit, and it's like you're just like, hey, I've got this, hey, I've got that, and it just kind of works. It doesn't, like, you're not forcing something into happening. You're like, we're gonna create art. We're gonna make this, like, we're gonna make this cool. And like you're forcing it. Then it's like, no, what will happen is what will happen.
Yeah. It was actually it was a really cool experience jumping in the studio with Matt, because again, like Zane and I are massive fans of Matt Corby. I think all of Australia are massive fans of Matt Corby. And like we were nervous as fuck, like going into that studio. But there was obviously like there was a part of us like, like is this gonna work? Are we just gonna get in there? Is it gonna be fucking awkward? Are we gonna like not gel or vibe, or is it just gonna be completely fucking weird? And like obviously like at the start, like it was like a little bit awkward, meeting people, like we were in a new place, new studio, hadn't met Matt, so trying to kind of like feel each other out and know what the vibe is. But then like it didn't take like too long for then all of us to start really like, getting comfortable and digging it. And Matt's like he's like a legend, like a really, really fucking nice dude, which is really cool, super refreshing. And like it was a really cool experience to just like, he's a freak too, man. Like he musically, like he's a genius. And like, you know, we would just sort of be sitting around the studio, and he would just kind of whip out the bass, be like, "What do you think about this?" And just start like smashing the bass,
slapping some bass,
like, and like it just like all these ideas would like sort of start coming through, and we were kind of all bouncing off each other, and it was this really kind of nice free way of like creating this bit of art, with no boundaries, you know, like, yeah, it was a really cool, different way of writing, one that I'd never done before, and I'm eager to do that again.
Do you want to do more stuff like that? I'm just going off, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, like the movie, when they go to the barn and they obviously have all the different ways that they're making sounds for that album. Like they're just going crazy with shit, and obviously that hits so much. Do you ever kind of want to take some of that and be like, what can we do? Like how can we kind of put our own spin on something and change it and add different sounds? And like you said, you just whipped out the bass, like put that over this, and like how crazy is it kind of when you're in the studio trying to create a song? How far do you go with things, and how much, I guess, creative control does everyone have over a song? Like, if you got one, like, okay, this is a song that I want to put forward, and Zane has a little bit, or like, how's the to and fro between making a song?
There's like and like, look, this is just from our perspective, from where we are in our career. I'm sure it's very different, in each scale of where you are in this career, especially like per country as well. Like, I'm sure it's incredibly different over in the States. But in our perspective, like there's you know, I would compare going to getting a song recorded to the same as getting a tattoo done. So like, you know, you go to a tattoo artist with this like idea, like, I want, I don't know, a fucking lighthouse
with flames
on my on my arm, and you know, you might have this like idea of it, like, yeah, like, fuck, I want it with flames, and you're like, you know, you want this idea, and then you take it to the tattoo artist because you've seen some of their previous work. You're like, I like that person's work, and they do it, and then it never ends up being like, unless you give them like a sketch of what you want. But if you've given them an idea, it never ends up being what you had in your mind. I mean, ultimately, the end goal is what they provide you is like you're frothing it.
Yeah.
But that's sort of similar to what it's like to go working in a studio, because each producer has their own style. Because that's the thing, like, producing is an art form in itself, much like tattooing, you know, like drawing. Each producer has their own way of doing things, and they've all, in their own respect, broken the rules to do the things that make them unique as a producer. So each producer that you go to, you'll get a different product. We go to them with an idea for a song, and then whatever producer we go with, it will be different. And we've had experiences where we've taken the same song to multiple different producers, and the song is like completely fucking different per producer. Which is the exciting thing, because yeah, it does, you know, each producer has those weird little things that they've come across within their career, weird sounds that they've like cultivated from doing something fucking weird, that they can like put into your, you know, those flavors they can put into your songs. And then also too, like on top of that, because it's an idea that's cultivated between myself and Zane, we also get to kind of like play into that as well. And like, I mean, obviously, you know, Zane and I have a really good synergy together. Most of the time, like if one of us has an idea, the other one kind of has a similar idea. So like, I suppose,
do you guys clash at all with that at times? You're pretty good.
Not really, no. Like we've never actually had any clashes in the studio, which I'm like super grateful for. Zane's like, me and Zane have like this weird like synergy where like we're kind of the same person, but not in a really annoying way. It's like, and it's good too, because it's sort of a yin and yang sort of thing. Like Zane has like a really good ear for percussion, so like I don't focus too much on percussion, but he's got a very good ear on percussion, and like the ideas that he has on rhythm and percussion are 9 times out of 10 something that I actually froth, but I couldn't communicate that.
You don't know how to get that across.
Yeah. And then vice versa, there's other things that I'll focus on, like little bells and whistles that he'll then like froth but didn't know how to communicate that. So it's like, we have this really good working synergy in the studio. So yeah, we hardly ever clash, which is.
Do you kind of come to each other with like, okay, this is the direction I want to go, and then you build off that for each song? Like, do you come and say, hey, this is my, or you've written something like this is my plan, and then you obviously build off that? I'm intrigued to like the process of like building a song and like the to and fro with that.
The way that we do it is, so we both have our own studios at home. So when we demo a song, we'll kind of like cultivate an idea that's like, at least a little bit established, at least a little bit defined, as opposed to like coming in with just like an iPhone memo of like a guitar and like singing, which is also like a very good way of doing things.
Peter's gonna shit on it, kind of.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying though.
Yeah. But I'm like, well, in saying that though, like there's pros and cons of both, because we've actually fallen prey to coming in with, like a demo that we've like recorded at home, we've put this effort into, but then we've actually like kind of confined it into this idea. We've boxed it into this like produced idea that we've had it at home with no room to actually like grow out of that.
Yeah.
And we've actually had to deconstruct songs like that before to allow it to grow. So there are pros and cons of both. If you come in with just like a phone memo, that's like the basis of it, and you can take that wherever.
Yeah.
Right from it's an open canvas.
When you've built it out a little bit more, you're like kind of restricted because you've kind of already got it.
Yeah. But the benefit of like doing it at home and demoing it and recording it in your own studio is that if you actually are dead set on a song going a certain way, you can communicate that by doing it that way, as opposed to coming in with like a blank idea and just being like, oh, I want it to sound like this, but you don't have it. Have either of you ever come to each other with a song and then you've just looked at each other and gone like, what the fuck was that? Oh, all the time, dude. Dude, there's been an ample amount of times we've like left a studio and gone, what the fuck was that, dude? Like,
what are we doing right now?
What are we doing, man? Yeah, no, there's been plenty of times there's been plenty of times where like we've even like recorded songs ourselves, because we don't live with each other anymore. So that is a benefit of having our own studios, is that we can, if we have an idea separately, we can record in our own studios, and then we usually just kind of send it to each other.
Yeah, and build off that.
And there's been plenty of times where like I'll write a song that I'm like frothing in the moment, and I'll send it to Zane, and Zane will be like, "What the fuck is this, dude?" Like,
can you please delete that off everything and burn your computer?
Yeah, literally. Like, there's been some. It's like.
How's that been? Like, because obviously you're living down here and he's living on sunny coast still. How's that been? Obviously being so close with all the touring and stuff, but then not living together now. Is that almost better in a way, because you kind of do get that separation as well to kind of build your own ideas and then share them?
Yeah, I mean it's fine. It's good. Like we lived with each other for like 5-6 years, and like it was great. Like it was like fun. It was great. Like, it was an easy house. Zane's a fucking perfect person to live with. But we never really got anything constructive done. Sort of like, instead of like writing music or sitting down and like practicing, you'd be like, oh, let's play some Fortnite, or like, play video games, or like go surfing or something. Where now that we kind of live apart, we are a lot more constructive. Because you kind of have to be.
I find that funny that being apart makes you more constructive than being, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but it's also, it's funny to be like, you're not holding you accountable when you're there. You're like, come on, let's go surfing. It's more of a distraction than anything.
Yeah. Well, I suppose because, it's just because of how close we are. Like, we have, like, I don't look at Zane as a friend. I look at him like a brother. Like, he's literal family to me. So, I suppose like when you're hanging out with someone, when you're living with someone that close, you don't want to work. You don't want to like do boring shit. Like, not that writing music's boring, but like,
I was going to pull you up on that. I was just like, don't you love this? And you're like, as it's time. I get what you're saying though.
Yeah. You wanna go enjoy the finer parts of life, like Fortnite.
Yeah. All that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
It still blows me away that I met both your girlfriends separately at random times.
Oh yeah, dude. That when you brought that up the other night, that
Like I did the WAP with Phoebe.
yeah, dude. I need to actually have this conversation with her to.
It's funny how people come into your life in different ways. Hey.
Oh yeah, it fucking blew my mind when you brought that up the other day because it's such a small world. Like what was that? It was like 4 years ago, 4 years.
I think it was 2020 or 20 ended. It's either I think it started 2020.
Wow, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, and just randomly because my good friend who wasn't even there, his girlfriend was living with her.
Yeah, Joe and Maddie.
Yeah. Shout out Joe and Maddie.
Shout out Joe and Maddie.
Yeah, but just like even that connection of like knowing them and just like you don't realize how connected everyone really is.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. Very small world.
Very
Scarily small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like you say, you do something when you get that little bit more well known by traveling, and then just more people know you, and just get smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
I'll ask you 3 more questions. And we'll get out of here. We are also recording. It's currently 7:51 at night. We've done a late podcast because why not? You're a musician. You're used to working late at night with microphones. Another thing. Thank you for doing this, by the way, because this was something that made me think about it more, because I obviously asked if you want to do a podcast a while ago and you're like, yep, sweet, but it kind of got put off. And I thought about this because I think I was talking to Shanice about this, about you coming on here, and you said, oh, like I'd get more nervous about doing a podcast than I would be about playing on stage. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's just me in the room, like it's chill. But then I thought about this, because this is what I know and what I do all the time, so I'm comfortable with it. But then I was at your gig at Miami Marquetta, and I just thought about if you pointed me out in the crowd and said, Dean, get up here and sing with me. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. And it's like, what? It's a microphone. Like, as many people in that room will listen to this podcast. So it's like the same number. They're just going to listen to it in different ways. But it's like, it made me really shift my perspective of, I'm good at this and I can do this because I'm comfortable, because I know it. And it's like, even though you play in front of hundreds or thousands of people, it's not what you know. It's still different. So it's being understanding, because I looked at it as like, why would you ever be nervous, or why would you ever think it's different than what you do when it is completely different? So it's just that viewing it from a different lens.
Yeah.
And taking yourself and being like, why would they be nervous? But then put yourself in their shoes and go, well, I would be nervous in their shoes. So it's like the same thing. But
And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm fucking shitting myself right now.
Right now?
Dude, the whole time I've been fucking nervous, right?
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Why do you think that is? Because it's like, for me, like you would be nervous when you get on stage.
Yeah, I don't know. And like because I know you as well. Like, I don't know. I think because it's like,
you're not familiar with it, I guess.
Yeah,
but that's what I mean. Like, if you pulled me up on stage at Miami Marquetta in front of all those people, like, fuck, man, I gotta be, one, two. Make it work. But yeah, it's just that perspective of like, of why someone gets comfortable in one thing or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I must admit that. Yeah, I've been.
We'll finish it up anyway. I got questions. I always ask these at the very end of the podcast to finish it up. But if you go back and change something in your life, or do something differently, or teach yourself a lesson, what would that be?
I don't know. No, see, I must admit it's a hard question, because as we sort of discussed earlier on in the podcast, a lot of the choices that I've made as the person I am today came from the what I personally had to go through in high school with my brother passing. And I feel like a lot of the decisions that maybe I could have learnt now as an adult were probably forced upon me back then. And I don't know, like there hasn't really been any like major revelations for me as I've gotten older so far. for me to be like, fuck, like I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self to be prepared for that, or to like, you know, to understand that. Maybe actually buy a house. No, I take that back. Buy a fucking house. Like
when you're 14.
Yeah.
In Burley.
Yeah.
On the beach.
On the beach, yeah. That's the one thing actually is, yeah, if I could go back in time, I would say to my younger self, buying a house doesn't mean you're settling down.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably the only thing.
Means you're investing for the future.
Yeah. Invest financially in your future. No, but on a deeper scale, is not really. As I said, at this point, there's not really major revelations that I could really
want to change. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked with how everything's gone.
Yeah.
I'm pretty fucking stoked.
What are you scared of?
Is that a threat?
Maybe.
I'm scared of rejection. No, yeah, rejection. I'm scared of rejection through abandonment. That's a deep one.
How does that play into how you live your life?
For the most part, I mean, it's never really something that's like kind of come up and like drastically caused any existential crisis. For the most part, but I think this is a conversation. Actually, I was literally having this conversation with Shanice like last week when we were in Thailand, smoking weed. We kind of got into the deeper meanings of things, and I think one of the things that I'm scared of is being abandoned, and the idea of like being left behind. I think from the experience of like losing my brother, and also to my dad walking out, and also like 2 previous relationships, both of them kind of walking out on me as well, kind of has kind of sparked the idea that I'm really not a fan of being abandoned. As I said, though, it's not like it hasn't like affected my life to an existential crisis. But if I was to say something I truly am scared of, it's the idea of being abandoned.
Yeah, you're consciously thinking of it. That it's a thing. It's a hard thing in relationships, hey, because it's almost, if you have that fear of abandonment, you show up differently, because it's like you care. Like you care about, like, I don't want to feel that. So then sometimes you can show up and like you hold on too tight because you don't want that person to let go. But it's like that suffocating feeling of just like, I don't want you to go. But then by doing that, it's like you're causing it to happen.
Yeah. Which I suppose, like, for the most part, I mean, like, as I said, Shanice is like, she's such a great person. She's super supportive, and she's very validating. She's a very validating human, which is good. And so, like, I mean, I'm secure with myself. Like, I'm, you know, I don't spend my time thinking that she's going to leave me. So that's what I mean. I'm not consciously always afraid of it.
Yeah.
Thinking it's a reality. But I mean, yeah, it helps when you're with someone that like is very validating, and also too, like, spending time away. Like, I'm used to spending time away as well, like physically spending time away from people that I love. So there's also that element too, that I'm desensitized to the idea of being separately away. But yeah, it does come out in like little things, you know, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Last one. How do you want to be remembered when you're no longer here?
Just as Paddy. just as me. I don't know. I don't have any grand notions of leaving this earth, like thinking that you know, I want to be remembered as something specific. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, I don't know. I just want to, if I had to choose, it would just be knowing that I had family and friends that loved me, and that, Yeah.
That's enough.
I was just a good dude. I would like to be remembered the same way that I remember my brother. Just a good dude.
Simple.
Yeah.
All right, Paddy, before we go, what have you got coming up tour-wise, and what are the plans for the future with the Dreggs? What's going on for you? New music,
Tour
dates, where are you going? What are you doing? Where will we see you?
We got a rural tour coming up in October around certain parts of Oz. We're doing a couple fezzies here and there. It's all up on our social media and whatnot. You can buy tickets if you want to.
You're going to miss our Nest party.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I'm not
real bummed about that.
I actually am bummed about that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I'll be in Wollongong.
You're
so
currently
thank
in the
you, Wollongong.
You're currently in the green room / podcast room.
Yeah, literally. So we're doing a real tour. We've got some new music coming out. We got a single coming out, which we actually haven't announced anything, but we do have a single coming out before the end of the year. And we are currently working on a new album as well for next year. So very, very exciting things.
Love it, bro.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you're scared shitless the whole time, so it was great. You were really
No, thanks for having me, dude.
No,
it's been a
good,
long
bro.
time coming.
Yeah, it's been a while. We've been talking about this for a bit, so we'll get you back in the potty room with Shanice on the microphone next time, so you can just be soothed to sleep.
That sounds good.
So we came in here a while ago for some just after hour activities, and that sounds weird now.
Yeah.
Kinda. No, we're having some beers in here after hours, and Shanice and Paddy got on the headphones and the microphone, and yeah, Paddy's realised he's got a new microphone fetish that he never knew about.
My girlfriend's got a sexy podcast voice.
Yeah, so we'll get her. Maybe we'll get her in, and she can just start the episode. She can do the intro for you.
Yeah,
She
maybe.
can intro it.
Yeah, I could finish it too.
Fuck. All right, see you guys. We love you. We love you.